Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Cinema Entertainment. I'm Drew, or Sin, and I'm here to hopefully entertain you. Welcome to basically a series of tutorials I'm going to be doing, starting with your basic beginning. A little guide that's going to help people out in the first little bit of their playthrough on Adaptory, figuring out what's going on, understanding what's going on. The tutorial does a very good job of Charlie up here, the wonderful Charlie. But we are going to be trying to focus a little bit more on some of the things that I've noticed from a couple of you playing, that maybe understanding certain things don't necessarily go in. I do plan on going to some tutorials on some more detailed things about items, how they work. But right now, we've crashed on a planet. Boom. We're apparently in a little valley right here. Not a bad place to start. There are no bad starts. As far as I can tell, I've never had one that I haven't been able to kind of come across. I know the game's just new. I've been working through the demos for a while. Hopefully I've got a little bit of knowledge that I can help impart. Now, first off, we have our little explorers. Oops, Grumpy, Meh, and Schmart here. Each of these explorers are going to be your workers and people. They're autonomous. They do really what they want. You can actually interrupt them from what they're doing by clicking on them and then telling them to move to a spot. That becomes their task, and it will kind of stop doing. But otherwise than that, they'll pick up what they're going to pick. They'll decide what they're going to pick up, where they're going to go, what they're going to build, what they're going to dig, everything along those lines. They move pretty much on their own. You have a little bit of control. It's mostly an interrupt so that you can figure out where you want them to go help handle a deal, or if you want somebody else to work on something. These are the kind of things we can do. We're going to hopefully go through these functions. Now they take up 2 squares of game. They can jump up to 2. So this guy here, if I had a block here, he could jump to on top of it, right up to here where this oxygen is. Not entirely horrible. Anything more than that, they get stuck. They can't jump it. They can't climb it. Anything else along those lines. But that's a pretty good jump, grab, and probably lift up, given the height of the critter here and how big. Here, I'll get a little box here to show just the height. They can go from where Schmart is standing up to the top of that without a problem. They do it without really even much of an issue with speed or anything else along those lines. Next, they can reach basically 2 blocks away from their body. Guy here, he can reach and can dig and or thing up to here. A little box around him here, like that. Because he's too high, he can get the 2 high, and it's 2 away. And above his head, 2. This is kind of the radius around where they can build. Boom. That area right there is the area that they can build or dig from. They have these little phaser unit things that scan something and then they take it apart, or they scan it and pick it up, or they scan it and put it together. Fantastic little device. So there's kind of your basics on these people. They have all of their own little quirks and things around them. Anytime you're looking at them, you can see, what am I doing? Currently nothing. They're feeling pretty neutral. That green bar up top is a level of neutral. It's a good neutral. It's a positive neutral. But it's not necessarily fantastic. Thinking, how did I get here? Well, you crashed. The mood is giving you the percentage of what their mood is. If it goes down to nothing on the little display or to 0 here, they don't die. There's really only one way to die in this, which we'll get to in a little bit later. For everybody, it's based on 75%. They're actually a little unhappy in the beginning. Doesn't last long, but everybody's close together and very minor of a minus. I promise. You see that -10? not that big a deal. We have our 3 basic needs. We have stamina, which is how tired you are. When they hit 0 stamina, they will pass out where they're at. And just... Are they in oxygen? Doesn't matter. Are they standing on a ladder? Doesn't matter. They will pass out. That is literally the edge of their experience. They will run around and do lots of stuff. Running around all over the base, doing all their tasks. And then they hit a wall and they're out. Which, when you're asleep, we can go into the interrupt faction. When they're asleep in an area where they, have passed out at, even if there's no oxygen, they're not dead. Not yet. If you don't pay attention, they might be. That interrupt I talked about, which is very important. If they're asleep and their stamina will start slowly growing, you can go to another location. I'll hopefully be able to show that off some point during the series of tutorials. I'll try to engineer it if nothing else. And I suck at editing, so these are all just going to be live little videos. I apologize for that. Next we have hunger. That's food. It's a generic happiness buff and debuff. You can't die from hunger in this, which might design how people are going to play, but it's important to note, at least I've never had a person die from hunger. And I've had bases where my guys were refusing to eat for some reason or another, way back in demo testing, and they never died from hunger. Now generally, if this or stamina get below 10%, they will automatically try to seek out what it is. Or, if they ever get that low to that below 10%, where it's a little red bar, move to, next to an area, for example right here, we've got a ration pack, or if you have a container with food in it, boom, move to, get them to go next to the object. It is likely that the AI will go, I'm hungry, gimme, this does not always work. They have little minds of their own. They're little chaos creatures. I promise. Little chaos gremlins. They're wonderful chaos gremlins. And then social. Hunger, by the way, if you let it go down too low, it'll start giving you all kinds of debuffs and things along those lines. So it's more of just a modifier that will slow them down, things along those lines. When you're getting minus 60% mood because they're currently famished, you'll notice it when their moving speed goes down, which we'll get to that in a moment. So that's important. And everything has buffs and debuffs. If you've just eaten, it gives you a buff. If you've just slept, it gives you a buff. If you are starving to death, which you can't actually die from it, you're having a huge minus. When you're really tired, you have a minus. When you slept on the floor, there's a minus. Won't kill anybody, but you get a minus. Not a big one, but generally get people into grumpiness levels. We're going to go into that here in a moment. Now we have social being the next little area here. Social is how much they've interacted with people around them. It does not count when they rate diary entries or things along those lines. They really like interaction with each other, but they're stranded on an alien planet in the middle of nowhere, feeling of hopelessness. Interacting with people can be very important. And a lot of you might say, well, you sit at your computer all day doing things, but I have online interactions with people. I still have some social interaction. But in this particular case, it's how much. And they can go a while without getting a minus from social interaction. Much longer than some of you out there might think, but not as long as some of you out there might think. But again, social won't kill you. That bar goes to 0, they're just going, feeling lonely. And the next time they're around someone for more than just a quick pass in a hall, they'll probably start talking, even if it's someone that they hate. Because these wonderful people have likes, dislikes, everything else along those lines. They have working personalities. They're fantastic little explorers. So, moving on to that. So that's all those things. And moving at percentage is entirely based off of things, their modifiers. Your base value is 100. They've got fit 10% because they're very fast. Smart is a fast guy. And we can go into things that are more fun in some cases, but have some effects. Most recent conversation. As they talk with people, it'll get kind of like a log, and you could watch. They talk. They're pretty funny. They're also little weirdos. You can learn a little bit about the world that way. Best friend is oops. That's good. As they're around and do things with oops, they'll just be happier. Worst friend is meh. It's the other way. They'll get references, diaries, and how much they dislike. And while it's the boost from best friend seems apparent, the worst friend, well, that does seem to be more likely to affect in a negative way. Like they're already, it doesn't seem to like reduce their happiness by being around, but like if something happens when they're around their worst friend, it seems like it hits harder or faster. Again, I don't have the codes. Going off a guess here. Mostly around meh. This doesn't seem to have much of an effect other than sometimes the person they're mostly around sometimes will switch if they're best or worst friends. Like if they're mostly around a person and they've mostly been in a bad mood, suddenly that might become their worst friend. Unless they've got an attitude trait that gives them problems. But this is how you keep up on the diaries. When you click the diary, it comes up, it's got a diary. You can read about the things going on. Again, it adds lore, it adds their opinions. They'll remark on things that have happened to them, and it'll help. Like if you haven't really noticed that they're constantly running out of food, like in a constant thing, and you read the diary and you read through it, sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, crap. That keeps happening and can help keep you on focus. Maybe it's just my ADHD going off here, but it does seem to assist. Errands. This goes over all of the tasks they're going to be looking at in priority. Now, there's nothing on here because this will populate because I have a bunch of builds that I set up, and there's some stuff on the floor. All those are tasks. Digging is a task. It's a build errand. Let's just dig right there right now, right? Yeah, build errand tile. Dig. I need to get to click the dig. Interesting. It doesn't show up dig if you only have the dig there for that. Anyway, but yeah, this will populate with everything they're thinking of doing, and you can see kind of a list of things that is going on. Like if you're wondering why they keep running off to another spot, you can look at the priority list, and each person has their own priorities, although it's usually pretty uniform. Properties. This is more details of what's needed. Lungs, 1 kilogram of oxygen. Very important. That's how much their lungs can hold up to. Not a requirement of what they have right now, but it is what they can hold up to. And then they have a little bit of carbon dioxide because they need to exhale at some point. Carrying nothing. You can see if they're holding something. Sometimes they'll be holding onto a piece of food, but they're doing other tasks. They can still eat the food. Made of 100 kilograms of goo. You know, you might ask about goo. Try not to think too hard about it. But you go to the most thing that will affect. This is places on the world and continent and country of their homeland. But we have traits. Smart is brainy. He will research faster than others. Chatty loves to yap. That's a good and a bad thing. One, it means that Smarty, when it's around other people, more likely to get that social interaction, but also more likely to fill that with other people. Fit, runs very fast. Nature lover, anytime he's around plants, he's going to get benefit. We like plants. Suspicious, yeah. So there's a variety of traits. It's good to go over them, and during your character creation, you'll get to see collections. You can't decide what they're doing, but you can actually take a look at it, understand it, and decide if you want to have that person. Now, I'm going to press play at normal speed for a moment. If you notice, all of those tasks were orange. Well, that's because they can't be reached, or in this case, it hasn't calculated to see if they are. I hit that play button, and all of a sudden they're like, we can do it. And everybody is sprung into action. So everything that is, now notice how there's a dig spot here, but there's also a square around it because I told it to build a tile. It's acknowledging I can dig, but I can't build a spot because something's in the way. And if you notice now, we can take a look at people. Where's an example? Errands. I've got a priority of lists. If something doesn't get done by another person, they'll move out, and they'll do that. Notice they each have different lists of their priorities. It's all digging at first, because they don't have any dirt to build with. So they're like, we're going to dig. Yeah, we're actually going to cancel out this whole thing. We've canceled it all. We're going to hit play. And they've all stopped. Because they've got nothing to do anymore. Priority list. There's nothing to do. Now I'm going to hit play for a moment. There's nothing wrong with occasionally having people just kind of doing nothing. The inside of my ship, the temperature's going down because there's colder temperature things here. We have no power to things. They're generally going to stand there and kind of be unhappy. They might start talking a little bit here in a moment. Smart just moved to he'd be one of the high ground. But that's kind of it about the characters. Now, when you do want to have things, I like to hit pause when I'm designing. Personal preference. That's what I do. We need to acquire dirt. Well, right now there's 4 squares of dirt right there. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead. Let's dig it out. If you notice, they can get to a task. They're just going to do it. And sometimes they stand on exactly what they're digging. So they'll fall to the bottom of whatever it is they're doing. You've also noticed these spots here. It says buried object. That means there is something in the ground right there. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-boop-boo. I didn't see what it was. But there's 2 ways you can look at things. I'm just going to hold the thing over. So it's 150 grams of mana berry. Food. Some basalt, dirt, and an oxycan. If you notice, I'm 2 in here. And if I tell him to move, as stated previously, look at that. Pulls himself up, no problem. So again, they can pull themselves up their own height. It's important to remember. Well, maybe a little taller than them. But you get the idea. Arm reach. Arm reach. But yeah. So, there's our basics of how explorers kind of work. They'll eat when they're hungry. They'll move when they can. They'll breathe anytime they're in breathable air. Even if it isn't enough to breathe them, they'll grab what oxygen is in the air right there as they're passing through it. And sometimes they'll get a little confused if there's not quite enough oxygen, but they're breathing. Sometimes they'll think that they have enough air, and they won't be like, oh my gosh, I need to get oxygen. So you might have to occasionally nudge them in places to keep them alive. And I think that's going to be about it. We've done some digging. We explained what happens with the explorers. We have an oxygen-sealed environment here, which we'll go into more details about later. So, yes, thank you very much for hanging out. And this is my first short little tutorial. Like I said, I plan on having more. Don't know if long-form content or short-term content is best for this. Remember, try to find Adaptory if you haven't yet. Then get your friends to buy it. It's a fantastic game. I have no affiliation with the owners whatsoever, but they're amazing people. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.